Super Soul Sisters, and we're here yet again for another amazing episode. And with me is a lovely woman. I must say, I'm really honored to have gotten to know her. And of course, we're going to get to know her more together. We're here at Daughter Explosive. My name is Joyce Kaducu. Our Super Soul sister, Joyce Kaducu. Did I say it correctly this time?
Very.
Thank you so much. And she is here before, I'm saying Joyce Kaducu before putting the honorable, of course she's now an honorable, but because we're here to know who Joyce is before the honorable came to happen. You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
It gives me great honor and pleasure to be here today to speak about Joyce. The Joyce who is sitting right before you. She's a very humble girl who hailed from a very humble background to where she is.
Yes.
And I'm so privileged and thankful to God because it is by the grace of God, by His providence, by His blessings that I am here. This Joyce you are seeing sitting right before you hailed from Moyo district. She was born 53 years ago, and she studied from a very remote primary school. At one time, she was studying under a tree, and she completed her primary living in a very humble primary school in a district that is called Moyo.
Indeed. So before we get into the school aspect, who are you born to?
My parents are basically all from, my father comes from Moyo, my mother comes from Germany, and I'm married in actually land.
So you stayed
So
home.
I am a Ugandan.
That is very true. So how many were you? Do you have any
So
siblings
basically, I come from a family that a father who has gotten married to more than one woman. My mother was the first wife, and my mother gave birth to 4 children. I happens to be the firstborn, and firstborn of 3 girls, including myself, and 1 boy.
But firstborn is a hard role, eh?
Yes, firstborn is a blessing. And my other stepmothers have equally given birth to other children. And I must say that we are sisters and brothers. And we are so privileged to be brought up in that polygamous family because I've got to learn a lot. I've got to grow up in a very big family.
Yes.
And that is what made me what I am today. As far as my family background is concerned, that is typically me. I was born of a parent, mother, who was basically a housewife. She didn't go far with her academic studies. I was born of a father who, of course, had a medical background.
Yes.
And eventually, he joined the armed force.
As a medical personnel?
He was a medical personnel, but at the end of it, he was a UPDF.
Okay.
And he retired at the rank of a lieutenant. He went back home. That was in early 2000. And of course, my sisters and brothers are all alive.
That's good.
We are basically a family of health-related profession. 2 doctors in the famture and a nurse, and we have a teacher. We have 2 teachers. We have agricultural profession and other profession in the family.
So the sciences just run through
the science
the
is
blood.
basically strongly rooted in our family.
Okay.
Yes.
So growing up, having a father who is a medical personnel, of course in time changed and went into the UPDF, and a housewife for a mother, how was that like? What
Yes,
did you
it was.
get
It
from
was
that?
so good. But what is very typical of me was we grew up from a relatively really a poor family. My family was not well-to-do, but of course my father was a learned man. He went to join the armed force, but all the same, with my mother and the other sibling, we really grew up in a typically a village life. I went to a village school, studied in a primary in a village school, and after that, the war came in. We had to take refuge in South Sudan.
Okay, so I'll take you back. You're being a bit general now. When does your father join the army? Are you still young?
I cannot remember,
before primary school?
but I cannot remember. What I can recall very well is he was initially in the army, of course.
Even when you were younger,
yes,
primary
when
school?
we were a little bit younger, but most of the time we were in the village. But when we came back, that was when the NRM took over power. My father had to get back. That was the
From
time
exile,
it was full time in the UPDF.
Okay.
And for us, the children and the mother, we are back home.
Yes. So, primary school, you've not yet, there's no war yet?
Yes,
What
that
was
is
that
true.
like? Tell us your school and your experience.
My school was so beautiful for me at that time.
Yes.
It was such a beautiful school because we walk to school on
Yes, with your
foot.
friends and sisters.
There
and
are
brothers.
streams you have to cross, you have to go to school with
Yes.
your sister. You know how beautiful it was. We did not have bicycle to take us, not
take
even
you, yeah.
motorcycles. But we are so happy.
Yeah.
We studied under very difficult situations by that time because at one point I recall my classroom was under a tree, and we had a big stone that was designated as the blackboard. And those of us who were there, you get a stone, sit on it comfortably, and that was your
And
desk.
one listen to it.
And that was my classroom. Eventually, as we progress, when you go to a classroom, the classroom was a grass-touch classroom.
That's
You
now
have
after
to-
improving
you have to,
on the
after
infrastructure.
yes, improving the infrastructure. But now the school is so beautiful, of course. But I loved it at that time.
Yeah.
So I studied under that situation. I managed to pass. And I went to a secondary school. I thought probably it will be a little bit better.
Better, yeah.
It was, I think, even worse than what it was in the
dear.
primary school. Because we are the
Which year is this,
pioneers.
though?
That
Do you
was,
remember
I completed my O level in 1988.
Oh, okay.
So 1985, 86, I was in senior 2. So it was a school that was just barely starting. And we're in the pioneer class. When you look at it, it wasn't easy at all because they had to improvise a place where we had to sleep along the trading centers. Then you walk almost 2 kilometers to the classroom. You had to get back to where to sleep. You walk to
So the
attend
school
classroom.
used to do that for you?
It was basically one
what we
of
call
the
hostels
primary
today.
schools that was being converted into
Into-
secondary school.
Okay.
So for them to, it was a new school. We were just pioneers. We are trying to start a new school. That is Meto Senior Secondary School. And there was no such a school that is secondary at that time.
Yeah.
We had to study in a primary school and then sleep at the trading center in those shops. There were old shops designated for dormitory.
Oh, really?
Yes, then you walk back, you come back, you walk back. We didn't have that typical life of a secondary school because we did not have dormitories. Because of that, you have to sleep down on the floor.
On the floor.
You put a mat and you sleep. We did not have mattresses at that time. There are no dinings. Of course, we have one of the shops was designated for cooking.
yeah.
You serve your food and you eat happily. And we didn't have laboratory, I recall. For us to do laboratory practicals, we have to go to Moyo Senior Secondary School, which is a little bit, some few kilometers, you walk to that. There were no
access a
library to assess practical lessons. There were no libraries. You need to get a way of getting information.
Yes.
We depend on the teachers. And we didn't have the lamps that these days you see, the solars, the electricity that our students have. We use the ordinary original light.
The ones
in a tin
tin,
where you pour
yeah.
paraffin, then you...
And then there is a, what's that called? You
should
turn it for it
yes,
to go. Oh, okay.
absolutely. Not the other one with the glass. The
Okay.
one in a tin.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that is our source of light for reading. And I think the most important thing is that despite all those challenges, God was in the center of our studies. We form an association of young Christian associations, associations that bring students together. We try to share common knowledge. We read about the Bible, we pray, we sing, and that kept us united.
Going, yes.
It kept us together to achieve a common goal. And I think that was our strength.
You had mentioned you had 3 parts of life.
Yes, I have 3 parts of
Yeah,
life.
and that's like the second one now.
This is the first part of the life. The first village girl,
Yes.
that village girl who studied in a village school and completed O-level. When I completed O-level in 1988, that was way back, many years back, because we trusted in the Lord, we kept together despite the hardship, and we completed. And that opened a way for me, a calling to a different vocation. And I was so passionate about the love of God, serving God in a different arena. And that is when I joined the religious life after my senior
But
4.
let me ask you this. Even when it was so difficult to find a love, you had to walk, you insisted and kept going and still did sciences, did you?
O-level we did general. Of course, I did well in sciences. Despite all that, I passed well. But the critical thing here, when I was in O-level, 1, God was the center of our life. Number 2, we had a goal to achieve. I looked at my father, I look at those ahead of me
And
who
you
are
wanted to
medical
be-
personnel.
yes.
I feel personally I must strive and become one. Despite all the poverty, we are born in poverty, we grew up in poverty, does not mean that we cannot achieve our goals. It could not deter our desire to become what we want to be. After that first stage of life, I went to another
Phase. 'Cause
phase
now you've
of
joined
life.
a group of girls to worship and pray.
Yes, yes. And
So
that
you-
kept my faith. That kept my zeal. And all through the secondary life or level, I had that zeal to go and serve God,
So were you
to
the one
enter the
leading
religious
that group?
life.
I would assume you're leading this group.
Yes, I was. I was a leader in that group.
Yes.
Because I felt the devotion, dedication. So when I joined the religious congregation, that was the Sisters of Sacred Heart of Jesus.
Now in A-level.
After O-level,
Yes.
I joined the congregation of the Sisters of Sacred Heart of Jesus. And I had to go through the process of formation.
So you were about to become a nun.
1989, I was a postulant, because that is a stage that you need to go through formation.
Yes.
You need to read a lot. It's really a school of its own. You have to attend classes. You have to do what it takes to become what you want to become. You don't see just the nuns there, it's not automatic.
They've
They have to
gone
go
through a
through
process,
formation.
yes.
And the formation involves a lot of learning, a lot of mentorship, a lot of counseling. And you have to discover yourself. You have to discover the will of God for you.
Yes.
You have discovered the purpose of God for you in your life and what you want to become. So that is the process you go
So
through.
how did you decide to do this?
So 89, I have to go through that. Of course, you have to be in the convent. I was in
Yes.
the convent.
How did you decide to because it's one thing to have a group of friends, you go ahead.
It's a calling. It's a calling. It's a vocation inside you. You know the process is that you apply. You feel a will of God for you.
Yes.
You apply in the congregation. And after my O-level, I had to go full time.
That's what you wanted.
That is what was God planned for me.
Okay.
After
and your
this
parents
first
at this
stage,
point?
yes, my parents had consented, but my father was not
It
really
was not
fully.
quite.
So when I finished 89, the post-land stage, I had to join novitiate
Okay.
for 2 good years. You have to stay for 2 years in the novitiate. That is the formation stage. And it's like you have nothing to do with the world. You have to be in the school of formation. Nothing to do like academic
calling.
studies,
Yes.
nothing to do like going home,
The
nothing to do
Bible,
like
it's the way of
no
life.
working. You are there to discover the will of God, the purpose of your purpose of existence. Why are you existing? Why did you want to choose that vocation? So after that intensive 2 years, I realized that time God says yes. If God is for you,
Yes.
nobody can say no.
Yes.
And in 1992, I took my first vow
Oh, wow.
to become a religious nun.
Oh, wow.
And that is the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. You vow to be obedient, you vow poverty, you vow chastity. Poverty in spirit.
In spirit, yes.
And of course, poverty of sharing resources you have
Yeah,
with
yeah.
your brothers and
Yes,
sisters
sisters,
in the
yeah.
community. And you have to be obedient to your superiors, to people with whom you work. And you must be chaste, meaning that no marriage, no marriage.
I would assume you would be like, I am not going to.
And that is why the canon law for the religious life is clear.
You have to
don't
want to.
you take a vow for a period, a temporal
so
vow.
that- okay.
It helps you to make a decision, to discover yourself before you take the final vows. After some period of year, 6 years of and above, but not up to some level, you must have decided
you a
and
time
take
to
final.
think about
Once you have taken final vow, that is now for life or death.
death.
You just stayed there. So I haven't taken final vows. I was still under temporal vows.
Oh, the first vows you took were temporal vows.
I lived for 6 years as a religious nun.
Oh, wow.
And after all that period, after taking my first vow, I was assigned to work with the missionaries, the Comboni missionaries, to do pastoral work. And I enjoyed it. It was so good. I don't regret. It nurtured me to be what I am today.
Yes.
It's something that many have not lived unless you are a
Unless
nun.
you're, yes.
But I feel happy because it
Yeah.
made me what I am today. I worked in the pastoral experience, very many things with the community, with the different groups, and
How was
after
that
some
experience
years, it was a good experience, really.
Yes.
I feel so much that period
Yeah.
was a very good period because I moved to the community
Yes. Yes. Yes.
to teach, to train the children, catechumen, the altar boys, the altar servers. I work with the choirs, I work with the different groups in the church. And what is very important is I worked with the children, the
Yes.
orphans. So that is something that has really nurtured me to be humble, to be people-centered service delivery person. And after that experience, there my experience tells me, go back for O level. And that is what obedience is all about.
The nuns, and they told you to go and study.
Absolutely. I had to go for A level after 6 years of being out of school. That is second chance.
Oh, wow.
And I went to Sacred Heart Secondary School, that was in Igulu. After 6 years of being out of school, now you come back for A level, and I was offering PCB. I wanted to become a doctor.
Wow.
So it wasn't easy. You are studying with the girls who have just finished senior 4, who are fresh,
Yes.
and you are there.
You have to readjust.
And you are there, you have to learn. You know, it takes a lot of humility, really. It takes a lot of
So did it take
self-acceptance.
a lot to adjust from what you've been learning or doing for the last 6 years into the environment of, I've come to do my A level and get probably my certificate and things like that and learn with the rest of the students?
No, I
'Cause
think, you see,
people have different
in
values
life,
when you're in
once
school.
you've set a goal, once you have a dream, you have a vision, you
Yeah.
work towards that vision.
Yes, that's true.
I think I like to accepted that I've been out of school for 6 years. I've come back to school. I'm not any better than these young girls who have just finished O-level yesterday. The best is to work together in humility
In humility.
and to discuss together. And yet I was doing PCB, and yet I want to become a doctor. So that is really a second chance in life.
In life.
So I studied, and surprisingly, I was excelling.
Oh, wow, because I was about
And
to
at the
ask,
end of
you know,
it,
when
I
you've
went for
taken
medicine
long.
on government scholarship. I worked hard,
Yes.
but also I was humble, knowing my background, where I came from,
Yes.
and where I want to go. So that molded me and made me to concentrate and focus on my studies.
Indeed.
And the funny bit of it is, I think that time God said, "Many are called, few are chosen." When I finished with my exam, I said, "Oh, my superiors, I think I just want to go." And my
Oh my
father was
goodness.
also, "Wow, this girl should come back home."
We're
And that
going
was
to
the
come
time
back.
when I had to take away the veil, and I took
and
it
put
to
it
my
in.
superiors, and I had to recollect myself again
And go
as,
back into
as
the
another
normal
girl
setup.
who was previously the poor girl from the village.
Now, of course, quite interesting on how life takes its different turns. She started off with wanting something different, ended up in another, and said, I think I should go back. But of course, at that particular time. So anything can change at a particular time. It's good to have dreams too, but it's also, you know, sometimes the winds blow you in different directions. We'll be back. We're still here in Super Soul Sisters. Remember, we are Dotash exclusive here at Ginger Road. You check out the place at Spear House. It's beautiful, beautiful furniture. I must tell you, Honorable Kaducu has given me quite something to think about. You know, so many times we have this saying in this country that you must be connected, yes, to get somewhere. She's just given you her story of her class being under a tree, her desk being a couple of blocks of stones, yes, to going to a school where she had to sleep in a shop, walk to the school, look for a lab. Now, we'll be back with a whole lot more because now I thought she was going to be a nun, but such is life. Let's come back. And we are back here with Honorable Kaducu, Joyce, Moriko. I know all of them now. And of course, she's been telling us, you know, the whole time I was thinking, okay, so she's being a nut, yes. And then along the way, of course, when she goes back to school, now do not lose hope. 6 years away from school, she comes back and says, I will continue to study. Now, whatever reason you have there, a few months back we were talking about young girls and teenage pregnancies and should they go to school, should not they? Are we going to go that one? She's in the right, in the right area, being a state minister for primary education, right? You put aside the veil. What caused this?
Well, I think many are called, but few are chosen.
Yes.
I must agree that I was among the many who are called. But after discovering the purpose of my existence, the purpose of life for me, and the plans that God has for me, I thought I could not continue because I'll be deceiving myself. I pray over that. I discuss with my superiors, with my colleagues, and I think they also accepted that, yes, if that is the will of God for you, fine. And I left. I
And
left
you
in
did
a
very well.
very good way. Up to now, I feel part of them. Whenever I
you're
go
still
to the
part of them,
religious
yes.
house, wherever congregation of the sisters,
Yes.
I feel part of them because they are my colleagues.
That is
I
true.
lived a religious life, community life. I lived together. I shared with them.
Yes.
So I still part of them. And after my first degree, I had to work with the aid support organization for a period of 2 years. And I came back for masters.
Oh, wow.
By the time I came for masters, I'd already joined Gulu University as a lecturer. And then I finished my masters. I went back and I lectured in the Department of Pediatric and Child Health,
Yes.
and I enrolled for a postgraduate diploma. Yes, I
Yes.
did that. But also I had to do my PhD. So from a very humble background,
I know.
studying under the tree, hailing from a very poor background,
To not just
did not
being
deter
doctor.
me from achieving my dream. Not a medical doctor
Yes.
alone,
Yes,
but also a
yes,
PhD doctor.
Yes. So speaking of that, you've done successfully well. Now, you choose to go and do medicine, general medicine, or you along the ways when you choose or select what you want to do?
When you go for medicine, you first do the first
The
degree,
general.
MPCHB.
Yes.
That is general medicine, the first degree, which is general. After some years, then you discover
'Cause you know
what
your
exactly
interests.
you want to do, where your interest is. My interest was to be a gynecologist. I wanted to be a gynecologist,
Yes.
and that was my passion for women, to be a gynecologist, and I loved it. But I realized along the way, the interest changed. I got more passion for children, the mother and the baby. I said, but these are not different beings. The mother cannot be detached from the baby.
That's
So
true.
let me study pediatric and child health and specialize in pediatrics and go with the baby.
Okay.
When the mother brings the baby, I treat the baby. I also have a conversation with the mother.
That's
I
true.
can attend to the health
So
of the
where
mother.
did you go for your medicine school?
Mbarara University of Science and Technology.
Okay.
My second degree was in Makerere University. I did masters in pediatric and child health.
Okay.
And I did a postgraduate diploma in project and management.
Project planning?
Yes.
Okay.
Then I did my PhD with the funding from Germany Resource Foundation.
Nice.
I'm very grateful to the government of Germany.
Yes.
I collaborated with the Munich University in the
that's-
sandwich program, registered in Gulu University, but working with university in Germany, Munich University. My supervisor from Munich University, Professor Andrea, very grateful ever, because they fully funded my PhD. It was quite expensive
Nice.
study,
That's good.
but I completed it. And when I completed, another voice in me says, go and serve your people in the political arena.
Before we get into that, you went into the pediatrics at this point because you realized this is what you really like. And there's a background on when you were hopefully going to be a nun.
Actually, I spent in the religious house 3 years in the formation house, because 1 year was postulancy, 2 years was novitiate, then 6 years after profession. Those are 9 years.
Those are 9, yes.
But
Not
while
even-
I was still in O level, you know, when you're an aspirant, you keep close contact. You come visit the convent, you get back. You visit the convent, you get back.
Okay.
I was already an aspiring to become
So
a
the
nun.
background here is you've always loved to
So-
work in the community with the children.
Yes,
as
with the
well.
children, with the orphans. I worked
orphans,
with the
yes.
orphans, with the
Oh,
children.
interesting.
So that has been a passion. So even with many groups of children, those ones in the association, up to now,
Yes.
they still remember that I had a passion for children.
What do you remember really? Were you notorious in school? In any way or form? Because from what I gather, I don't think so.
No, I wasn't notorious. In school, I can remember very well because of this religious affiliation. I was already in touch with the convent, the congregation, and I was one of the leaders in Christian movement in schools, the YCS. And of course, the girls knew me, passion for that.
Yes.
Talking about always preaching the gospel and knowing that after here I'm going to the convent. I was one person who was well disciplined and humble, but what was very peculiar about me, I recall very well, is that determination to be what I want to be.
Yes.
That is in me. If I want something, I work for it to get there.
Yes. So what got you, again, most people will say, she gave back the veil because probably she met someone.
No, no, no,
Or
no. That was
maybe
not there.
because now you're like, I think I'm better off if I was a doctor.
No, I left the veil before I went to university.
Oh, okay.
I think I had
Before
a lot
you
of pressure
finished
from
school.
my family. A lot of pressure from my family, especially my father.
Yes.
I was the firstborn. And of course, a mother who was struggling. During holidays, we brew alcohol together with my mother. We walk a very long kilometers with
And
my
that was a
mother
problem for
to
you.
buy probably food on foot. So the pressure was too much. As a result,
You decided.
I left after sitting my papers
Okay.
of A-level.
A-level papers.
Yes.
Yes, A-level.
Before going to university. I even didn't know that I was going to pass
You're a bit
on
concerned
government
there after-
scholarship.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you've gone through this process. You said you were teaching at some point at Kulu University.
Yes, I was. I was a
Yes.
teacher. I was a teacher. I
After
taught.
your master's.
Before my master's, I already joined Gulu University in 2005.
Okay. So
I joined Gulu University before going for my master's. After that, I came back, was teaching. I continued teaching. Even while I was doing my PhD, I was teaching. All those years, I was teaching.
must have been
So basically,
hectic.
my entire life of work was more in the teaching in the university.
The university. But you see, you're teaching and you're studying.
That is basically in a university setting. Capacity building is good, but you build your capacity as you do the training. Because that is basically PhD. You do more with attending courses. You go to you fly, you attend course, you come back after 2 weeks, you continue teaching, you collect data, you come back, you continue teaching. When it is time for data entry analysis, but you have research assistant. It was a well-funded project.
That's true. So yes, we're still here at Dotash Exclusive, and must say amazing space here on Ginger Road Spear House. Beautiful furniture house. You need to check it out. I'm here with Honorable Kaducu, and she did point out that now I have finally given back the veil to my superiors, the nuns. And I mean, you know, that's like we mentioned, there's so many reasons why people choose to do that. What's life like after that, when you say, and I've given out the veil?
Thank you so much. I think that was another very difficult moment for me, a moment of making decision, because when I finished my A-level exams, by that time I was already pondering, I was contemplating getting out. And indeed, after my exams, I'd already written my resignation letter, because you have to write your resignation letter formally to the superiors. I wrote my resignation letter that I'm leaving, and after that, indeed, I left. It was not an easy one, because you've been living a different life, a religious life. You've been in the habit, you have been in the veil. Now here you're out. You have to put in this dress. You have to put with the black veil. It is out. So it wasn't easy. I recall I started with 2 dresses.
Yes.
I had 2 dresses. The third one was just for staying. Then, of course, I had to adapt to the life. One thing is to accept that, yes, I'm in a different life, in a different world. God gave me the strength to adapt.
And then
of course, after that, I had to go to the university. When results came out, I passed on government scholarship. I went to the university.
And university life is very different.
Life was different, yes. And of course, it was not easy. But I thank God He was with me. I managed to complete the 5 years. But of course, when I completed the 5 years, I came back.
In those 5 years, you've not met anyone?
The 5 years I completed with the MBCHD certificate, but also I had a human certificate.
Okay.
That was the beauty. Yes. So
Yes.
it's something that really I have to thank God for all those experience of life, from one extreme life to
To
another
another
extreme
extreme.
life.
Yes, yes.
Then I had to get back to teach at the university, go for my master's, finish my PhD, and
So this
after
whole
that,
time, you get a job.
yes, after that I got a
You
job.
get a job. You're thinking I should go back for a master's. You have probably met someone. Have you had a family at this point?
Yes, I have a family formally. I have a family and well wedded.
Young family.
Yes.
Oh, wow. So you're teaching.
Yes.
You're doing your master's.
I'm doing my master. No. Masters, when you're doing, you don't need to be, you need to leave the
It's
teaching
also
profession.
hectic.
No, the masters, I had to leave
You had to
teaching. I
leave
come
teaching.
entirely to Makerere University
Okay.
and stay there.
But you had a young family at this time.
Another time already, my family was there, but I was staying with the children. They were young, yes. And my husband is also in Ngulu University. He's
This
also
did not
teaching there,
affect-
so it wasn't really a big challenge.
Okay.
Yes, so after masters, I went back to teach, continue studying, came back for politics, and here am I.
And here you are.
Third
Indeed.
phase of life.
So I will definitely ask you how then, because when you finish your PhD, what made you think, no, I need to do something entirely different?
When I finished my PhD, I just had this strong feeling in me. Go and serve your people in Moyo.
Yes.
Many people blamed me. A medical doctor, completed a PhD, a lecturer, a stable job, and just going for politics. Are you mad?
I can imagine.
So that is the response I got. Many people didn't want it. But I've made up my mind. God has blessed my decision. And I resigned in 2015. I resigned from my formal job from university as a lecturer in 2015.
Yes.
And when I contested 2016 and I passed the election.
First
If
time
God
try.
has planned for you, nobody can block you.
Indeed.
First time comer, and I'm here
That is true.
representing the people of Moyo, where my father came from, where I was born.
Yes. But then you're also given more responsibilities at this point.
Yes, I was given more responsibility. It wasn't easy. When I came in 2016, I was trying to adjust to be a member of parliament, but at the same time, you have to be a minister. So I had to balance that too, but thank God, I managed to cope up. I think generally God has given me that coping mechanism.
Yes.
Whatever
So
situation
your
you are
background of
in,
education has helped.
yes,
with
my
what you're
background
doing
in
currently.
education helped me, but I was in the Ministry of Health.
Yes.
I was the Minister of State for Primary Health Care. So what helped me was that coping mechanism. I
Yes.
managed to cope up very fast and to continue serving the people of Uganda. If that is the will of God for you, that is what God planned for me.
And you see, this life, you got to do all of these things. You got to do, first of all, also holding a position of state minister, you've had something to do with health and still had something to do with education.
True.
All of these backgrounds you've known and have grown up with all your life.
So that's true. So health, I am well versed there.
Yes.
Education, I am well versed here because I've been a teacher.
Yes.
I've been a doctor, teaching, lecturing pediatrics and child health in a university. So health and education, they go hand in hand.
Indeed.
Yes. So that is all the area where I've been.
Indeed. So we're having a struggle as we wind up. I cannot fail to throw this in. People do not seem to understand what primary health care is. Are we not putting out a message correctly, or are people just choosing to be adamant about
Primary
these
health
things?
care.
Yes.
Primary health care is the basic health care. This
Yes.
is a health care that is really, it actually encompasses the entire health sector.
Yes.
Because it ranges from preventive and all the other part of it, because when we don't, first of all, prevent to become sick. When you become sick, it's not easy to repair.
Yes.
So primary health care is the really foundation of health. It becomes right from home. When you talk about sanitation, you talk about the latrines, you talk about prevention of malaria, you talk about prevention of lifestyle, you talk about the diseases that you can prevent and you can be healthy. That is primary
So
health care.
are we not doing, or maybe we are doing a lot, but for some reason, maybe we expect people to actually know these things.
I think probably
not-
we need to sensitize people more and more about their critical cardinal role
Yes.
as people of
In
Uganda
society,
to take health as their key responsibility.
Yes. Because
Because
someone sits and waits, you know, for the mosquito net.
yeah, you need to put in mosquito net prevention. Most especially the stronghold
Someone
is in
sits and waits
prevention.
just in case you have people walking around with medication.
Yes.
Or just in case someone needs to, you know, dig.
I
know,
know.
And keep away
Can
the
we have
stagnant
lesson
water.
learn? Lesson
Yes.
learn in my life one. Grown up in a very typical poor environment, but does not deter me from achieving
Your goal.
my goal. So for those girls, boys out there, this issue of poverty, it's really in the mind. It's in the mind. If you take it away from your mind, you are not poor. Number two, staying out of school for long, second chance, does not prevent you from achieving your dream and achieving academic success. I lived out from after O-level 6 years to come for A-level, but I achieved my dream. So for girls, boys out there, second chance is real. Many of us are what we are because of second chance. So please, take it serious. When if you have stayed for 5 years, that is not too much. Come back to school, achieve your dreams. Number three, the life that you live can nurture you to be what you are today. My religious background laid a solid foundation for what I am today. I am humble. I am what I am because of that solid foundation I laid. Appreciation to the religious, the bishops, the nuns, the brothers who nurtured me. So the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. When you put God in the center of your life, He will help you to be what you are. Many did not expect me to be what I am, but I think it is God's hands in my life. So that is the third lesson. The last one, for mothers, for people like you and many others, don't stop with your studies. I didn't know that I'll even do a PhD. I didn't know that I'll finish my PhD. At one time, I thought I'll stop with first degree. The sky is the limit for us, the mothers. If you set your mind, you will continue to get whatever you want to get. Lastly, once you have put your brain, you have put your mind to achieve something, women, you will get it. Because you have the will, the way will open, and the door will always be open. But when you close your way, you close your will too early. Even people who are doing businesses, women who have many challenges, women, we have a lot of challenges, a lot. But even if there is a roadblock, ours should get way to penetrate through the roadblock and get what we want to get. Because you don't tell Lord to remove the roadblock, but you tell the Lord, Lord, give me strength to overcome and go through the roadblock.
Indeed.
So that should be us women, because the nation is because of us.
Yep.
Is we stop growing in academic, we stop performing, we stop doing what God has entrusted us to do, then the world is nowhere. The world stands solid because of women.
That is
So, super soul sister, you are indeed super soul.
so much. Thank you. Of course, thank you so much, Honorable Kaducu, Joyce Moriku Kaducu there, who has been telling us her life story. And of course, you may not know everything, but she's given us a little bit, you know, of a glimpse and walk through her journey. And we do thank you so much for watching us here on Super Soul Sisters. I will always come to you on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. And my name is Rowena Kajumba from me and the team. Thank you so much. Good night.